Princess Leia slave brass copper bikini. There it is. Yes. This was one somebody asked for. I think I actually had a couple of people ask for this over the years. And finally I thought, you know what? Let's do it. A very iconic costume from our collective history, especially if you're of my age bracket. But I think there's a lot of Star Wars fans over the years who've really been quite enamored with Carrie Fisher wearing that particular outfit. So I have located a model in France. Her name is Teresa Fractale, and I'll be talking a little bit more about her later. She is a model, actress, dancer, singer. She does everything. So anyway, we'll talk a little bit more about her later, but let's get into the actual design of the suit. So many hours of templating, and I have come up with this. So I've got all the pieces, I think, minus the collar, which I'm on the fence whether I'm going to do that or not. My process for doing this is just getting on the internet, and luckily Princess Leia, Slave Leia, in fact, there is tons of reference stuff, and there's tons of women who have done cosplay outfits. So a lot of different variations, and I was able to kind of study this whole thing, different possibilities and stuff. I actually watched the movie, or at least that opening was the third movie. What's the third movie called, Eric? Empire Strikes Back? That's the second, or is that the third? Okay. Anyway, it's the one where she's in the first 15 minutes, she's wearing this bikini, and you don't actually get really good shots of like the front and back, for example. So going online and finding screen captures and behind the scenes shots of her, I was able to get a few different shots that I could get some close-ups and stuff, but some of it is pretty ambiguous, and judging by what people have done for cosplay, I know they're working with foam and plastic and stuff, so there's going to be translations or variations on the form, but I'm going to try to stick to the original as much as possible. But as I do tend to put my own slant on things. So when I get to the front flap and the back flap for the skirt portion, I think I might go off the reservation for that one a little bit, see how it goes. But today we're going to start with the bra portion here. I've got that cut out, and we're going to put that onto a piece of copper, and let's begin. My intended technique for this is less sculptural than what I usually do, less repose sort of thing, and more of a, well, you'll see what I do here, but this is more of a process in order to make these raised little ribs. So I'm going to do it all in one piece so it holds it all together. I could cut the whole thing out and I'd have this big floppy mess and then try to move it, but it's going to distort and it's liable for cracks and stuff like that. To do it all in one piece is going to contain it, hold it, do the whole thing flat, then I'll be able to cut it out and shape it into its final shape. Let's see how that works. So we are traced out on a piece of 20 gauge copper, or 19 actually, on my steel gauge. I'll see if I can get the decimal equivalent for that. And I have annealed this piece so it is super soft. Now what I'm going to do is clamp it down to my piece of plywood here, and I'm going to outline it with a dull chisel. Step one, I've taken a cold chisel and outlined everything into the plywood. So now I've got a slightly raised surface here. What I'm going to do now is go over to one of my stakes and just start bringing that down, pushing all this ribbing forward. So let's go over to a stake, shall we? Now I've done my pass over the steak and just roughly dropping down the background, if you will. Now what I'm going to do is get the whole thing annealed, and then I can flatten this whole thing out to be able to clamp it down to the bench, and then I can sharpen up my lines. So we're into the process now, but a long way to go. I have annealed it. Also, prior to annealing, I worked from the back a little bit and just kind of punched up the lines into my shot bag. So this is the shape I've got now. Let me show you what happens. Just like that. Now I'm going to clamp this down. So there was our first pass with doing that. I just knocked everything down. We've got it roughly in place now. What we're gonna do is get the shot bag here, come in with rounded raising hammer there, and all the flat spots there, we just need to pump it out. So I'm gonna do that whole thing, then I'm gonna anneal it, and then I'm gonna clamp it down and do the whole process again. We might have to do that 2 or 3 times to get to the appropriate, I don't know, rise on that with everything sharpened up. This is not a difficult process, it's just gonna take a little bit of time, and it's kind of fun to do because it happens so quickly. They like to be entertained. I don't think anything they do is for the money. So 2 passes, we've just annealed, and things are really kind of shaping up quite nicely. You can see, and I've got the lines in there. So now just some more refining. So I'm just gonna do another pass. First of all, you see me work over the steak there to try to even these out. Now what I'm going to do is just on the steel, not on the wood this time, or not on a shot bag, is just even out some of the anomalies and dents like that. So I'm just going to kind of work over the entire thing that way, get everything pushed out, and this slows down to a crawl at this point. It's just trying to refine everything, make everything as consistent as possible, but quite happy with the overall shape. So that was, I think, our 3rd pass, and I think it is sufficiently refined. There's going to be a little bit of refining that happens after I now cut it out, which is what I'm going to do. So what I need to do is to cut out these landlocked portions here, and I'm going to do that with a cold chisel. That was violent and loud. I enjoyed it quite a bit. You can see how destructive it is on my sacrificial piece of plywood. Sacrificial. So this is a necessary part of cutting out. You could cut something on a steel plate. You're going to leave marks in there, and that's not really a good idea. For something as soft as copper, with a sharp cold chisel, I can kind of punch through there. There was not a whole lot of distortion. So now we've got our inner windows cut out. Now I'm going to get in with the Beverly and cut up to these lines here, and then I will have a lot of cleanup and then some shaping and refining. So long way to go, but let's trim it out. I don't know, I think I might have to do a little bit of edge cleanup. It might be a little bit aggressive for some tender flesh. So that's what I'll do now. A lot of cleanup and then refine, and then we'll get it to actual three-dimensional shape. Exciting. Let's talk about the front and rear panel for this skirt section. You can see I've already made the rear panel here, and I had a lot of fun doing that. I'm trying to stick with fairly primitive tooling on this one. Kind of a tribal aspect, if you will. That's kind of the feel I want. I want it to have a fairly rustic feel. So I'm going minimal on tooling and even, just the level of detail on it. But I still want to have it something interesting to see. When I watched the movie clip, it was hard to actually get a good look at that. And there was a couple of movie stills that had behind the scenes stuff, and I was able to get a couple other better shots, but not really anything really that good to see either the front or the back in a really close-up to understand what the intricacies of the design are, which leaves me to translate into kind of my own thing. I've looked at a lot of cosplay, people have done different variations, and I've just kind of come up with my own theme based off of everything that I've seen. So here we go. So I've got this piece down here, so let me show you how I did that. Here is the front panel, and I've just got things drawn out here. This piece is trimmed out and annealed, so it is good and soft. What we're going to do is start with these little bumps. It's got kind of a frog head, frog face. So anyway, I need to dome these out. This is all lines from the inside here. Let's stop talking and let's start hammering. As I mentioned, I want to keep this primitive, so what I'm doing is just working into wood here. I've got a cold chisel and a hammer. I'll just use this one. And now I just have to do my lines. We're working from the back here and establishing our little radiating lines. Pass number one, we look what we've got here. We can see everything is ghosted out quite nicely. The lines all look pretty good there. I do them, the first pass is dull enough that you can correct if you need to. And you can see there's a couple of areas there where I'm just going to kind of round out a little bit. But what we'll do now is anneal it, soften things up again, and go in for another pass and just sharpen everything. I've decided for pass number two, I'm going to jump right into working from the front surface and using everybody's beloved punch, the camel toe. And we're going to use that to really pop things up. Yet a nice enhancement. Okay, so you can see how that's working quite nicely, and this is a bit of an awkward maneuver, and this is where I'm glad I still have some Christmas fat here. You need your belly, the organic tool rest, as my mentor Dean used to always tell me. He was a big fat man, and having a big gut is nice to lean stuff against a lot of times when you're working on that, whereas the very skinny people don't really have that. To recap, what we did first was start from the inside, and we just went in with a dull cold chisel and did our lines. Then we went over to the stake and our beloved everybody's favorite camel toe punch. We were able to raise things up. Then I clamped it down to the wood and was able to just come in from the sides and refine everything. Any of the wobbles in the lines, I kept them nice and round. I was able to push in and get everything evened out. So now we've got some good definition there. Everything is what it needs to be. There's going to be some more decorative elements I want to add to this yet. Putting these little punches, just little domes punched out from the back. We'll get to that yet. And also I'm going to do some dimpling with the ball peen. But before we do that, we now have to get into the wire rolled edge. Everything about doing a panel like this is actually very relaxing and quite easy. It's very two-dimensional. The process is very easy. This is, I think, 22 gauge copper, and when it's annealed, it's really easy to move around, and you put it on the plywood, and it's simple tooling, simple process, and it's really quite rewarding and relaxing to do it. Wire rolled edge is a little bit more of a nail biter and a little bit more intense, but let's do that part of it, and then we can get back to the final details on it and get the actual curvature on it. So over to here. Essentially what my process is this 1/8 inch wire. I think it's 10 gauge is what this is. So it's going to be laid into my little groove here, and then we roll it around and trap that wire in there, creating that nice bead. We don't have that, and we just roll it around. This thing it's easily distorted and collapses quite easily. With that wire in there, you can kind of hammer on that, and it just makes it look better and better. It is a bit of a bitch to put in though, and that's what we're going to do. I've already started, because we've got these little bubbles coming up the top there. We've got to make it go around that. That is a little bit tricky. So what I'm going to do is pre-shape one of the pieces here just to get me going on that, and then I think we're going to have to do this in a couple of phases here. Anyway, let's begin. And there we have it. I've just, after the edge rolled, I annealed and then just flattened everything out, trued it up a little bit. And now what I want to do is add some texture here and do my little domes here. Let's go over to my wooden stake. Okay, so this piece of hardwood that's got a slight dome on it, and I'm just going to put a dimpled texture in with my small ball peen. An extremely shallow dome and a shot bag. What more can I say? Okay, let me just show you a couple of the other components of the costume here that we have not filmed. I did the armlet for the bicep, and this was the original template I drew out, and then I actually just spent 10 minutes and welded up this thing here, and then with that, by clamping a piece of copper on there, I did a little test fitting where using my dull cold chisel I was able to kind of get that shape. Anyway, that led to this. So made this up as one flat sheet. I had my little scroll there, did one side, flipped it over, did the other side, and then I've rolled it around. Still a lot of cleanup to do. This thing is quite rough and jaggy at this point in time, but I've got to do some refining in there, but you get the idea, and that will fit on to her arm, which is a lot smaller than my forearm, so this is going to have to come down quite a bit yet. So that was kind of a fun thing. I thought about doing it out of like a round bar, like a 3/8 round bar, but then decided this way I'm able to adjust the size infinitely for different people, different size arms and stuff like that. So anyway, we're working on that piece. And then for the hair, I have done this hair clip, which will come together, these pieces over top and kind of like that. I'm not even sure how this whole thing goes together yet, but this is what I've come up with. This is the same process as what we just did with the front and back panel, with a wire rolled edge and all the fun and aggravation that goes with that. I also did this little piece, which is down at the end of the braid. I don't know what you'd call this, like it would be like a scrunchie or a hair elastic, but anyway, it's the tie, covers up where the tie happens, and that was just a fun piece of copper that I had some interesting times just kind of wrestling that into shape, and I really freestyled on this one. I deviated quite a bit from any images I saw. All right, so between when the front and back panel are on, the skirt part there, the connecting piece actually has this little eye-shaped copper component to it, and the way I did that was out of a piece of sheet like this. Basically started with a flat sheet and raised up this, and then cut it out, and then did some further shaping to come up with that, so you can see where I'm going with that. Moving on. Okay, and if we return to the bra portion here, you can see where I've got with this, where it's now roughed into shape. Still need to do quite a bit of refining on it, but we're approaching the shape. And then I took some pieces of leather here and actually soaked them, put them over a round ball. It's these steel balls. You could use like a softball or whatever you want, but just formed it over that for a day, let it dry out, and now I've got these little boob bumps in there, and then I'm going to be able to get that affixed to the inside, trimmed off to fill in that. Once I've got the actual boob the right size and shape, then I can get that in. Still a ways to go. So anyway, we are well on our way. I think we'll probably just pick up to when I'm doing the antiquing on this. So join me in 1 second. All right, we're almost done all the components here for Princess Leia, and I decided at last minute I was going to go ahead and make a collar. Eric wasn't here to film that, so I started on that, and I just saved the last step here so you can see what I'm doing. So what you can see is I made a nice little steel collar. This is a traditional way of locking a collar in so that you can put a hasp on there of some sort or padlock without it gapping open. So that is a little hint there. I do a lot of manacles and collars and stuff for the film industry. That seems to be usually what people, when they come to me for a movie or film, that they're trying to chain somebody up. It's just the nature of the business. So anyway, I am wrapping my steel collar with a copper piece here, bringing it around, which pads on the inside and creates this cool little effect here. I'll just show you how that works. So I've got a piece of copper that is wide enough that it can come around and wrap there. I didn't even measure that. It looks like it's around 2 inches. So I'm just using vice grips. I'm not worried about marking up the copper on the inside because that's going to be covered up with a piece of felt after. So what I need to do is balance things out that it's equal distance on either side there. Just vice grip that into position. So now it's vice gripped into place there, and I can grab a little hammer. So at long last, we are at the finishing step. We're going to put some patina on here. So I'm going to use my copper and brass patina and brush that on, paint it off, or wipe it off with water, neutralize it, and then get in with some steel wool to get a nice fetching look Here we go. All right, so now we are ready to send this stuff to Teresa across the pond there. Just getting things packed up. So here we've got our skirt thingy. This is at the end of the braid. The actual bikini top, obviously. That worked out quite nice. We've got an armband. We've got the hair clip, which I have yet to figure out how it actually is going to function as a hair clip, but getting there, getting there. And we didn't show this on the video at all, but I decided to go ahead and make a quick replica of the collar. So just did something fairly cool there with a little copper wrap there and just a steel chain that's got kind of a bronzy finish on it. So that should finish out the costume. And I realized this morning as I was starting to pack this up, I did not do a bracelet. So I'm just quickly whipping that piece up, having a little bit of fun with that. So I'll get that done. We'll send this off, and a couple months from now, hopefully it'll be sent back with some video and pictures from good Teresa. So we will see you then, and just probably a couple seconds on this video. So see you soon. Bye. All right, it is currently the very end of September, and looking back, I did some math and I started creating this costume back in middle of January. So we're 8 or 9 months into this whole process, and just this evening I got an email from Teresa Fractale with the final photographs for our thumbnails. So she wanted to do some touch-up and do the editing herself. So anyway, that is finally coming in, so we thought, well, let's get this thing wrapped up. It's been lingering for a very long time. A number of things have gotten in the way, and it's just stretched on, but it's time to wrap this up. So let me just talk a little bit about Teresa. This is the model that I chose before I even started this whole idea of doing the Princess Leia costume. And I thought of her, I came across her site on Instagram, and I really liked her style. She's a strikingly beautiful woman, which is obvious for a model, or that's a good thing to have. But I really liked her approach to things, and it turns out she does most of the artistic design and direction on her photo shoots. So she has a real hands-on control with what she's doing, and I really like the kind of steampunk, goth, tribal. She's all over the place, but has a really nice, I don't know, her stuff is not overly provocative, but it's definitely sexy, and I liked it. So anyway, I thought when I was thinking of doing this Princess Leia costume, she was one of the models that immediately came to mind. I reached out to her, and after a little bit of convincing, she was not really aware of the character, and I thought that was kind of charming as well. But she decided she wanted to be on board with it, and as things turned out, I developed a great relationship with her. She's just a very sweet person, a very nice person to work with. We did have a number of obstacles that we worked through and stuff like that, but we've gotten on to the other side of that, and I'm very happy with the final product. Because she's not a hardcore Star Wars fan, I didn't try to tie her down to doing a canon representation, and I kind of left her with free reign. So you'll see in that video that we're going to be watching right now that she just kind of did her own take on the whole thing, and I just kind of let her do that. Same with the thumbnail photos. I did not crack down about her being 100% canon, trying to nail that character down. Let her do what you want. So anyway, without further ado, let's get started. Teresa is a model, but in addition to that, she also does lyrical singing and butoh dance. And she gave me this write-up, and we actually tried to shoot it, and me trying to talk in her words just came out very stilted. Suffice to say that she's not a one-trick pony. She's got many talents, and we're going to have her stuff linked to her bio and everything. So check out her stuff, her work, and enjoy the video, and let us know how we did. We didn't go the cosplay route on this one. I tried to do an artistic interpretation. Let me know what you think. Really curious to know what your take on this is and how you like Teresa. So that's it for me. I'm out. I'm going to give you Teresa. Here you go.
Dropping fire,